Hello everybody, we are here with some King tier gameplay. We'll be rocking tier over in the solo lane. While he can be played as a jungler as well as a support, he does tend to work better as a solo laner. So we're going to be starting off with our Warrior's Blessing, our Chalice, 4 multi-pot. Not going to be buying a relic, of course, because we can buy teleport on our first back if we need to. Otherwise, we can buy a non-teleport relic. And for our first ability, we are going to be grabbing our 2. Our 2 is the ability that we're also going to be maxing out first in the solo lane. If you are a jungler, you're going to be maxing out your 1 first for the damage, but in the solo lane, we want the sustain. So, speaking of our 2 has 2 forms. Tyr is a stance switching god. This means that he has multiple abilities. So his ultimate is the same in each stance. Your 3 is the stance switcher, and your 1 and your 2 will each switch. So he basically has a bonus 2 abilities. Those 2 abilities are cones in front of Tyr. The easy way to recognize what stance you're in is you can see over there, I've got a little glowing blue fire. So you've basically got a blue stance and an orange stance. Orange is basically aggressive. Blue is basically defensive. So when you're in the defensive stance, you are going to get a heal from your 2. This is going to heal you for up to 3 targets hit. And this is going to be really the main reason why we rank up this ability first, because we're going to get some nice sustain. You only can heal for up to 3 enemies hit, so if you hit more than 3 enemies, you're still only going to get the heal for 3 of them. In your damage stance, this is just going to do a slight knock-up on enemies that are in the air. And that's going to be important because it's going to factor in with our next set of abilities on our 1. So bonus for blue is a little bit of heal. Bonus for our offensive stance is it's a small knock-up on targets that are already knock-upped, which is very specific and kind of weird, but it's going to be relevant because our 1, when we hit somebody, we'll drag them, and then we can follow it up with the 2. So you get a slightly longer knock-up in the air. So now we talk about our 1. Our 1 is called Fearless. We are knock-up immune during this ability. In our offensive stance, this is going to hit the enemy twice, pushes them along, and knocks them up into the air. And so it's going to proc the assault damage twice. In our guard stance, that is our blue defensive stance, this is going to be a 1-time knockup. So it's only going to hit once.
I'm going for jungle buff.
It's going to do slightly more damage with that 1 little hit. Not as much as the 2 hits will do, but you can see the initial 1 will do it. And it's going to also knock them up into the air. Our 3, which we're actually not going to put a point into. You do not have to put a point into Tyr's stance switch in order for him to be able to stance switch. And so we're actually not going to put any points into it. But eventually, this is going to just give us a passive buff. That passive buff is going to be if we're in our assault stance, we are going to have additional physical power. And if we're in our defense stance, we're going to have additional physical protections. Whenever you switch stances, it refreshes the cooldown on your Fearless and your Power Cleave. So that is your first and second ability. So no matter what, when we switch stances, our 1 and our 2 are always going to be up as long as we have switched the stance. Little rude there, Wukong. All right, now we're going to back up. We're going to go get ourselves our Warrior Tabi. And our teleport, Warrior Tabite is going to give us a little bit of damage here. Teleport going to help us get right back over to the lane. And we can even buy a couple more multi-pods if we want to, just for the extra bonus to stay. Our ultimate is going to be a CC immune ability. It is going to be CC immune. It is an ability that allows us to travel. It is a leap. You cannot be pulled out of this ability by like an Izanami, or excuse me, by an Awilix or anything, because you are CC immune the entire time, but it will allow you to hop over walls.
Careful, left. An enemy has been.
When you land down at the target location, you're going to do a bunch of damage to everybody caught inside of it, as well as a slow. So you're going to slow them for 25% for 3 seconds, plus it's a giant burst damage ability. Finally, our passive on tier. We are going to have a pretty cool, unique passive, which is all CC on tier cannot be longer than 1 second. 1 second is the maximum amount, so stuns, taunts, fears, intoxicates. All of these various forms of CC, these are all going to have a max duration of 1 second on tier. Give you a little heal off that. Hit him with a little loop-de-loop right back into the tower. Push him right on in. And hopefully we're going to be able to grab the last little kill over here. I just can't quite read. And now he's dead. There we go. Little loop-de-loop back into the tower. So we can't be affecting on tier with these abilities by more than 1 second. So let's say you get hit by a Kumbhakarna Mez. That's maxed out. Instead of getting like mez for that max, like what is it, 3 seconds? Instead, you're only gonna get mez for 1 second. This also affects how DR works on tier. So if you've got, let's say you've got 40% CCR, right? So you've got 40% crowd control reduction on tier. Well, that's actually starting from a baseline of 1 second, which means the longest you can be stunned on tier if you had capped CCR is a whopping 0.6 seconds. And then after that, that's when the DR is going to apply. So then if you had 1 times DR on you, that's 33%, which means you go from basically 0.6 seconds to like 0.4 seconds that you can be CC'd for. And then if you do the next tier of 66%, you only can be CC'd for 0.2 seconds. So depending on how you build tier and how much you've been affected by CC recently, pretty much he starts to not get affected at all by CC, which is awesome. For our next item, we are going to be going into a stone of I'm actually going to go a little bit aggressive on him. We're going to be going into a stone of Gaia. I'm going to see if I can't force him to use his ulti and some other stuff. That's fine. I don't mind the knee ult. There we go. Okay, cool. We forced him to use his ulti. That's fine by me. That is Neith ulti down and Wukong ulti down. That's a big fat win. We're going to be going into a Stone of Gaia. Stone of Gaia is arguably the best solo lane item in the game right now. It just gives you so much sustain, both for the later stages of the game and for the laning phase. I recommend buying it on pretty much every single warrior solo at this point as either like a second or a third item. It is just ridiculously strong. Ridiculously strong. I'm gonna grab my totem for the team. My teleport is back up. After I grab this totem, I'm gonna back it up and then teleport back in. So on tier, you can see our leveling order is a little weird because we don't actually put any points into our third ability. So our leveling order on tier, gonna grab a couple of wards as well to make sure I'm not getting super ganked by Fenrir. We level up our 2 all the way to max. Then we're gonna be leveling up our 1 to max, our ulti whenever we can, and then finally our 3. So the level order on tier is 2. Yeah, he's immune to knockups, and that stance is going to be 2, 4, 1, 3. 2, 4, 1, 3 is our official leveling order and tier. Basically, the main reason why you level up the 2 is because it's going to give you some awesome sustain for the lane, which is what we really want. We level up our ultimate because not only does it give us damage, but it is also going to give us reduced cooldown on this ability. Then we level up our 1 for a great source of damage. And finally, our 3, because our 3 is just used as the passive. I'm going to go ahead and hit both these guys with my combo right here, so that way I can secure the blue buff by making sure that Wukong can't use any abilities. Wanted to make sure I hit both of them right there. Just gonna work on my clear back here. Bada bing, bada boom. Make sure I don't miss out on any of this XP. He's gonna go proxy farm. That's fine by me. I am also gonna go proxy farm. So over in the solo lane on tier, you shouldn't have a ton of trouble in the landing phase because of the heal that your 2 provides. This is literally a potentially 360 point heal combined with your chalice of healing. You really should not be having any issues in terms of getting poked out of lane. If you are, you need to really rethink about how you're using your 2. Maybe you're using your 2 strictly for poke or something, and you're not using it to heal off the wave. Maybe you should be using it a little bit more defensively. It's just going to give you so much sustain. There's no reason for you to be getting poked out of lane, especially at this point. Now that I've got Stone of Gaia online in my blue buff, I'm always going to have the ability to sustain right in front of me. Wukong might try to go for my blue, so I'm going to head over here. If he wants to go for the wave, I don't care a ton. I'd rather just get my blue buff, honestly. Let him go for that proxy farm. There's nothing for him to rotate to. If I get my blue buff and then I go to wave, there's literally nothing for him to do, and I don't want to fall behind in any XP. The one thing you do want to be careful for in lane as tier is guys that have built-in anti-heal as well as cripples. This is the one thing you should be a little bit worried about on tier. So cripples are pretty straightforward.
Your team has destroyed us
because you have 2 major abilities that are reliant on moving. So your 1s are considered movement abilities. So if you're stuck in a cripple like an RDO, you are actually not going to be able to use those abilities at all. And so you really want to make sure that you're not picking tier into a group with a lot of cripples. 2, in the laning phase, if you're going against somebody like a Sobek who's got the siphoning strike for the anti-heal, it's not usually going to be that big of a deal, but later on in the game, that anti-heal, if he ends up building something like a Contagion as well, or even a Cerberus, right? Having something like Contagion, you're very easily going to be losing 50% plus of your healing, and then the tier sustain is not nearly as intimidating. So while nothing is going to be crazy problematic for you in the laning phase, in general, you're not looking to go against too much built-in anti-heal, and you're not especially looking to go against cripples. That's the big thing for you, because otherwise you're just not going to be able to use your 1s ever, and you know that is half your kit. So you don't want that. As far as what tier is good against, tier actually likes going against squishies a lot. He's going to derive a lot of his damage from base damage. So while over in the solo lane, me and this Wukong should literally never, ever, ever kill each other at this point. What I am going to be good against is I'm going to be really good against this Neath. I'm going to be really good against this Raw. Even without building a ton of damage, I'm going to have a bunch of damage built in because I've got 4 abilities, right? So I get 2 times the assault damage. It's basically 500. Plus I get the guard damage. Plus I get both of these every single fight. So I am easily going to have myself a lot of damage onto a squishy, even without building a lot of actual damage items. Call the enemy missing because the Wukong is over there. I'm actually just going to clear this next wave before I back. That way, I'm not losing out. The Wukong went through rotation, so I'm just going to stay here, make sure I get that bonus XP, because I'm not going to be able to rotate in time anyway. Next up, we're going to be grabbing ourselves a sledge. That should not be a surprise to anybody. And I'm also going to grab myself a Shield of Thorns, and I'm going to rank it up, and then teleport myself back over to lane with a couple of wards. Sledge, if you're playing any sort of hybrid character right now, whether you're playing a frontliner in the jungle, whether you're playing a frontliner in solo lane, I just think Sledge is way, 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 way too good to pass up under any situation. So you might as well be grabbing it. This is the classic solo lane where we're looking right at each other and nobody can actually do anything. My standard combination on tier when I'm looking for ganks is I'm going to want to start in my assault form. I'm going to use my 1, follow it up with the 2 right as they're starting to fall down. So you don't want to use your 2 the second you come out of your fearless. What you want to do is you want to wait just a moment. You want to use your 1, wait just a moment, and then as they're on that downward little swing, then you use your 2. The second you use your 2, you switch back over to your guard stance, and then you follow up once again with your 1 for another knockup, and with your 2. So start in assault stance, 1, 2, then you switch over to your guard stance, you 1, and you 2.
Your team has destroyed a middle tower.
Keep in mind at the late stages of the game, as we start to rank up our 3, we are going to gain a bunch of bonus power and bonus protections. What this is going to mean for us is as tier, we don't want to stack up on a billion protections. You can see we've got a lot of HP right now. That's because our 3 is going to provide us 50 physical and magical protections when we're in it, which puts tier in a spot where he can actually overcap on protections fairly easily if you're not careful. So that's why we embrace a little bit more of the HP route. See if we can go get ourselves a little bit of a combo over here on the Wukong. So we can show you that little assault into guard stance in action. Wukong's a little bit different because he's got the immunity frame, but yeah, he's just gonna immunity frame it every single time, so it's gonna be hard to get it on him, but because Wukong's Ox form is knock up immune. See if we can't chase him down and try to get some more axe on him. In this case, I'm just in my guard stance, which is fine. So I'm just gonna kind of stay in this stance for a little bit, wait for somebody else to come around. Gonna wait for Fenrir to try to do something on me. It doesn't look like he's going to, so I can switch back over to my assault. Gotta keep the chase down on Wukong. Hit him with a little combo. Bada bing, bada boom. Oh no, a Neathal. That's fine. I'm gonna pop my thorns right as this Fenrir is about to go on me. Wait for the brutalize to be over before I use my combo. I'm gonna up down with my ultimate right on top of these guys. I'm getting a little bit low. I'm gonna go look for a camp to sustain off. There doesn't seem to be a camp around. All of these camps are dead, so I'm gonna go ahead and just dash myself to the wave. Use my 2 on the wave and then head back over. Make sure you're utilizing that tier heal. If you're not utilizing the heal, you're not going to be getting as much out of the kit as you can. I'm going to wait for these minions to spawn, then I'm going to pop my 2. Try to get the heal off this. I think the Ganesh might have actually killed those little creeps right before I got my 2 off. I'm going to switch back over to my assault stance as I'm going deep behind these guys. I want to make sure that I've got my guard stance coming up as soon as possible. And also my assault stance is always the one that I want to start combat in. Now that I'm behind Neath, I'm going to try to wait for backflip. She can't backflip inside the Ganesh. There she goes. Right into my mouth. Hit him with that little combo. Grab in 2 auto attacks before my next ability. Bada bing, bada boom. We smack him on down. So if you have the opportunity to, let's say you're doing a Gold Fury. When you're switching stances, you can get 2 auto attacks in to maximize your damage. So you go 1, 2, ability, 1, 2, 1, 2. You keep getting 1, 2 in between, and you're gonna get a lot of damage in, including when you do your stance switch. because of Tyr's auto attack chain, it's 1.5, 1.5. You can actually get in those two autos very, very quickly. Trying to get around for the Wukong. I'm going to ulti on top of him and then hit him up with a little follow-up combo. I don't think I'm going to be able to quite get in range of him. He's got a lot of sustain going on right now. Although there's a 1 HP Ra over here. Gonna switch back. Actually, I'm not going to switch over to my Assault Stance because I got a Ymir right in front of me. I'm just going to kind of peel. Ra might walk right into me at this point. He knows that I'm here. All right, I'm just going to go back for the red buff. They're going to be right out of there. So I can get 1, 2 autos, 1, 2, use an ability, 1, 2, and then I would wait to secure this, use an ability. Gotta head over towards the left lane, go for a little gank underneath. At this point, I haven't been in my lane in forever. The lane is honestly not that big of a deal. I don't mind losing my tier 1 tower, especially at this stage of the game. We're just kind of sitting here looking at each other. Just chase right into him, and with another knockup, that's his beads down. Even if he roots me, the root is only gonna be for just a moment because of Tyr's passive. Gonna try to use my 1 to get me a little bit away from the Fenrir. Your Tyr passive does not work on the Fenrir ulti just because of the unique nature of Fenrir ult. But you can just kind of see on Tyr, I'm just kind of holding down the W key and walking at people. This is kind of what you can get away with. Quickly use a heal off of the camp and then come back over towards Tyr, or excuse me, towards the Ymir. They're actually going to be fine. I've got 3k gold, so I'm going to go ahead and back it up. This game, they do have a good bit of healing, so I'm going to go right into a Pestilence. Pestilence is going to give me a bunch of magical defenses. I'm going to rank up my teleport as well. Try to teleport into this tower. I don't actually know if I'm making time before it dies if Wukong goes for it. No, I don't think so. That's okay. I'm just going to teleport to the tier 2. So I'm getting myself a Pestilence because I don't have any magical defenses, and I'm a little bit worried about the Ra going into the end of the game. Looking at their team, they've got 3 physicals, but their Wukong is their solo laner, so I'm not super concerned about his damage. The Neath, the Hunter, the one that I'm most concerned about, is actually the most underleveled on their team. And so I'm going to get the magical defenses going up here first before I grab a real physical defense item outside of the sledge, because I want to make sure that I can dive into the backline. And plus, the Pestilence is going to reduce that healing that this Ra is going to be able to do. Going to pop my Thorns as I go into this fight. Look at the Wukong first, just because he's at 1 HP. Let's put him down. Now I'm going to ulti in the backline for the Ra. See if we can't zone him out. He's got to get through me. I'm just going to stand back here, prevent the Ra from leaving before I can switch over to my next form. Hit him with a little wombo combo, and he's going to go down. He can't do anything about me. I've got way too many protections for him to deal with.
Your left tower is under attack. Your left tower. Freedom!
Here, as we get into these late game team fights, these late game stages of the game, my number 1 concern as a tier solo is being annoying to their backline. So the Ra and the Neath are my main targets this game. Just trying to be as annoying as humanly possible. Even if I don't kill them, keeping them out of the fight, especially keeping like Ra away from the team so he can't heal them. That is exactly what I'm looking to do. You can peel a little bit on Tyr because you've got these knockups, but as a solo laner, it's really not your job. And especially because I'm paired with a Ganesh, the Ganesh is going to do a much better job at peeling than I could ever hope to do. Remember when you're attacking towers to be in your offensive stance, because you do get that bonus 50 power, your auto attack is going to be hitting way harder on the tower if you make sure you're in your offense stance. And on that same regard, if you are tanking a Phoenix and not particularly attacking it, let's just say you're tanking the Phoenix for your Hunter and you're kind of sitting around Phoenix line, make sure you're in your Guardian stance, because your Guardian stance or your defensive stance, because that is going to give you those extra 50 protections, which is going to help you tank that Phoenix longer. So not only do you have the ability to stand switch and use all these different various abilities, you also just have the ability with the passive to keep switching back and forth depending on the exact thing you're trying to accomplish. I'm not going to make it in there in time in order to get the pyro, so I'm not gonna do anything crazy here. Our Huyi is gonna go get a left T2 for free, it looks like. I just want to make sure that they can't do the actual fire giant, so I'm gonna keep myself around here, go do my blue buff kind of while I'm waiting for all of this to resolve itself out. Gonna back up, get myself a gladiator shield. So the one thing that we're really lacking right now in this build is cooldown. Tier does like cooldown, but we also just like generic protections as well. So I'm gonna back up, get myself a gladiator shield. This is gonna give us a lot of protections for physical. It's gonna give us once again more health, and we're gonna start into some cooldown action as well. You have to keep in mind that we do have 10% CDR with our blue buff. And if we get a red pot at the end of the game, that's going to be another 10%. And if we have our blue buff on us, that's already 30% CDR without even really having any CDR items. I'm going to just use my 1 here as a movement ability to try to get in range of the Rot. Going to pop a little Thorn. I'm just going to try to chase down Rot. Going to use my ulti in the back to hit him with a slow. Switch over to my 1. I see him beat. I'm going to try to get around Ymir. Body block him into the wall. Bada bing, bada boom.
Under attack.
So I grabbed my Thorns as my second relic this game, so I could W Kirata their backline, and of course the teleport. A great active on tier that you can also go is Blink. It just depends on your style of gameplay. There's nothing wrong. If you're a jungle tier, you're for sure he's gonna have Blink no matter what. But over in the solo lane, Thorns is just really, really oppressive depending on what composition you're against as well. And if you get ahead at all with the Thorns, it's just going to provide so much more damage for your team. So I would look at both of those actives. Blink is going to let you position yourself behind people, push them into your team. You do have your ultimate, which can do that. And as a solo laner, you're going to have more protections and more HP. It means you're going to be able to get away with using your ultimate very aggressively. Compared to if you're in the jungle and you're building more damage like a Transcendence or something, you're not going to quite be able to get away with doing that aggressive ultimate quite as much. As we would have been finishing up that build, we would have been selling our Warrior's Blessing. I would have grabbed myself into a Pridwin. I love a late game Pridwin on tier because it completely fixes that cooldown issue that we have. We ulti right into the fight. Now that we've already got protections built up, we're going to get a bunch of protections from the protections that we already have. Allow us to be even tankier in the backline, and then eventually we would have sold our Warrior Tabi for another type of hybrid item. I actually like a little bit of the hammers on tier in the ultra late game. Because we don't need any more CDR at that point, we'll already have 30% plus red pot for 40%. I actually like to get myself into a slightly more aggressive item. So unless you need more defenses, like maybe you need a void shield for physical defense or something, that's totally fine. I would avoid like the Mantle of Discord route, and I would go a little bit more aggressive. Even if it's like a Blackthorn hammer or a Runeforged hammer, that's fine. Or if you're really feeling yourself, you can get yourself a Heartseeker because you do have all those abilities to proc all that bonus damage, which can be very interesting at the end of the game, guys. And that is our tier guide.